Black is the abyss of hell, where the dragon of chaos dwells. Black is the shadow of mind, still morning starlight doth shine. Black is the night of the earth, upon north the serpent manifests worth. Black is the focus, fury, and rage of willpower, led by southern adversarial fire. And most certainly is black the secret of death and of Pluto's alchemy, the unlocking key to immortality. It then follows that the magic of the alchemist be black, for darkness alone holds the right to manifest light. Hello, everyone, brothers and sisters of the left-hand path. Welcome back to Plutosophia. I am recording this video on Monday, March 3rd, 2025. I am the founder and Infernal Hierophant of Plutosophia, Dr. Murphey. And in this video, I will be talking to you about the black alchemy of Plutosophia. Thank you for joining me here today, and I hope that you all enjoy this video. Black alchemy is alchemy that is of the left-hand path. It could be alchemy that has ties to Satanism, Luciferianism, but certainly within Plutosophia, we use the term black alchemy to distinguish it from the other forms. So why we go with this term, much like when we use the term black magic, is to distinguish it. Black alchemy is strictly of the left-hand path. It is the alchemy that is of the path of Plutosophia. It is self-serving, highly, fully, even individualistic. It's uncomfortable because of that and because it is of the left-hand path. It deals with the shadow, with the abyss, with chaos. It is working with prima materia, which we view in Plutosophia as the hellfire. And so within Plutosophia, our black alchemy is dealing with hell and the shadow realm. And it's really all about going into the darkness, going into the chaos, and manifesting your own light within the void, within the abyss. Black alchemy is of the devil's path, which is about sovereignty, seeking to attain true power in the form of what we call apotheosis, which is self-deification. So we must be very clear in understanding that when we're working with black alchemy, as opposed to alchemy in the more traditional sense, or those forms of the right-hand path, it's not about mystical union with a deity. It is about mystical union with yourself and becoming that deity yourself, self-deification. The devil's path means taking on the role of the adversary, of the accuser, and following that self-serving individualistic path that leads to personal sovereignty. If we take one of the aspects of the devil, Lord Emperor Satan, Satan is a name that has a meaning. It means the adversary and the accuser. Let's firstly look at the accuser aspect. Accusing whom? Accusing what? This means identifying, recognizing, acknowledging corruption and tyranny, injustice in the world, and calling it out and choosing a path that goes against that. So within Plutosophia, and I think pretty much within Satanism, Luciferian, all of these left-hand paths, Satan is viewed quite differently than he is in the right-hand path. He is viewed as a hero. He's accusing the right-hand path order or the celestial realm or establishment religion because he's accusing them of injustice and wrongdoing. And so he's going his own way and forging his own path. And of course, within Plutosophia, we view him as being an ally to us humans. Of course, he is an enemy within the right-hand path because he goes against their corrupt order. So that is one aspect of Satan And the other is the adversary. Of course, this goes along with it, taking on that adversarial stance against this side, right? So it's about choosing a path. There's the right-hand path of submission to this order, and the left-hand path where you are breaking away from it and really forging your own path. So black alchemy is very much individualistic. It's about truth, right? Because the only thing that the alchemist is concerned with within the left-hand path, within Plutosophia, is true power, mystical knowledge. Right? It's very much about being a mystic, a left-hand path mystic, right? So mystics are all about attaining more power, like true power and having truth. Mystical knowledge is any knowledge that is like the occult knowledge that's going to lead to true power. So it has to be true. And so anything that isn't is not serving the magician or the alchemist. And it's not something that they would have any desire to work with at all. So when we're taking the devil's path, we're taking the infernal path, and we're embracing, we're going away from the order because we want to go back to chaos, right? So we're stepping into hell and embracing the hellfire, which is that chaos, primordial, prima materia energy. Because you must do this in order to build a new order. It's the cycle of life and death, creation and destruction. We must bring about destruction and death and darkness. You must step into the abyss, and then you can make your own light there and create your new order. Right? So this is taking the infernal path, the left-hand path, negotiating, manipulating hellfire, and creating your own light in the darkness. We're stepping away from the holy kingdom. So I guess you could say we are stepping into the unholy kingdom of hell to build your own temple and transmute that lead into gold, right? This is alchemy. This is infernal illumination. It's all symbolism. It's all metaphor. Achieving that infernal illumination forged within the fires of hell. Firstly, this must be addressed, of course, when we're talking about alchemy. It's not physical alchemy, it's not literal alchemy. We're talking about metaphysics here. Metaphysical alchemy, mental, spiritual alchemy, it's all allegory. The transmutation of lead into gold is all allegory. Lead is a symbol for the mundane, the lower mind, the carnal realm. And gold, of course, is a symbol across all traditions of illumination, enlightenment, self-deification, real power. We're dealing with metaphysics, we're dealing with our thoughts, psychic thought, energy, and that really must be understood, and this ties into Hermeticism. Hermeticism is foundational to all of magic and alchemy. Even in Plutosophia, it does form the foundational bedrock of all that we do, the 7 Hermetic principles, most especially the first Hermetic principle, the law of mentalism, and understanding that all is mind, therefore all is thought, and thoughts are energy, so therefore all is energy, and it's all connected, it's all interconnected, and our thoughts do hold real power. And it's so simple, right? This very first law of Hermeticism, yet it must be understood. But it's really only through experience and gaining wisdom that you come to really have that true knowledge of this. When you have this belief crystallized within your mind, then it makes possible everything else, including magic and alchemy. So all is mind. There's nothing beyond mind. There's nothing actually physical. It is just all energy, and it's all thought energy, and that means our very thoughts have power. Even in the book of Genesis, it talks about this, the logos, the word. This is, the word, but the logos has a meaning a little bit more beyond just spoken language or thought. It's that language with intention and desire and willpower behind it. And that's what magic is. it's really the thing that really ignites it and makes it come alive and work is having that willpower behind it. And willpower is the domain of Lord Emperor Satan. So Satan is really integral to black alchemy. He is the spark that ignites the whole magical system. You could have all the knowledge to work these things, right? All of the knowledge in place, right? That's more of the domain of Lord Emperor Lucifer, right? He is connected with the realm of the intellect and thought and things like this. But even having all of that knowledge, doing all of the ritual, speaking the incantations, the invocations, the spells, what have you, none of it's going to matter without that spark of Satan, that willpower. But in Hermeticism, we also have the law of vibration, which ties in with the law of mentalism and understanding all is energy. And energy differs only in its vibration. Having a lower or higher vibration, so we're talking about frequency of thoughts, frequency of energy, and also how we can form these thoughts and these energies can form structures. So we're talking about energy vibration and energy structure, and alchemy is all about dealing with this energy. The law of correspondence means that, again, our thoughts can have power, an effect upon any realm, because it's all connected, and there is a correspondence, a mirror correspondence between what we call the microcosm and the macrocosm. So that means something done internally, what we would perceive as internally, can have an effect externally, and vice versa. What can happen in the carnal plane can have an effect upon the celestial plane, let's say, and vice versa, right? Whatever level, plane, dimension you're looking at, they are all connected and they have an effect upon each other. But really getting back to this idea of mentalism, the all is the mind. They all, everything is just thought, psychic thought energy. And really, even if we look at something like transduction, right, like in psychology, it's dealing with our five senses and our perception of the world. So if we take whatever sense it is, whether it's touch or sound or sight, but let's just take sight as an example. All right, so what we're taught with the medical models is that there's a light external to ourselves, and it is reflecting off of physical objects in our external environment, and then that light is shining into our eye, and it goes through the various physical structures of the eye and hits the fovea at the back of the eye, and there are special cells that undergo a process called transduction. This transduction means you're changing the light into a kind of code that the brain can process, because you have to realize this, even if what they say is true, that we do have a physical brain, even they teach us through their medical models that that light can't go into that brain. Or if it's sound, those sound waves, those vibrations don't go into the brain. They need to be translated into computer code. It's kind of the same thing, like when you talk to someone through video chat, and they could be somewhere else, even on the other side of the world, and you're seeing them and you're hearing them, but that's not them. It's taking the light that the camera is picking up from their phone, and then it's encoding that into computer code, and then that code is being sent, and then that code is processed to reformulate and generate this image of them that we're assuming is pretty close to actually what it is trying to represent. But this is also happening. So when you see something, you can't see anything. You can't be outside of your own mind or outside of this brain. And so this is really incredible. That light is being translated into an electrochemical signal, right, through transduction. And now it's just a signal, it's just code, and that code is being sent into the various parts of the brain, like the occipital lobe, and it's being processed, and then the brain itself is generating what you're seeing. Now, this is just incredible. So whether you're seeing something in your waking life or whether you're seeing something, quote unquote, seeing something in a dream state, there's no difference. What you're seeing is completely inside of your own brain, inside of your own mind. What you're perceiving, I should say, because you can't really see anything. Your brain is generating that. So we can't really know that anything external to ourselves exists. All we are is perceiving what our brain is generating. And this is the same thing for things we touch, things we taste, things we hear. It all goes through this process of transduction. And you may wonder, okay, why am I getting really deep into this? It's because I really do want to stress the importance of the law of mentalism and just understanding really that all is mind. You have never, quote unquote, seen anything outside of your own mind. You've never touched anything. It is impossible. The only thing that you've ever experienced, that you are experiencing now and that you can ever experience is your own mind. A dream is no less real than what you think reality is. It's all your mind. Your mind is creating all of it. So thoughts are important. Thoughts do hold power. And in metaphysics, we refer to thoughts as psychic thought energy. Thoughts, mind, it's all connected. It's all interconnected. Be very careful with your thoughts. Don't dismiss your thoughts. There really is something to positive thinking and the language that you use in your day-to-day life. Now, with the law of correspondence, this ties in with Baphomet, with the magician tarot card, the macrocosm and the microcosm. All right, so with Baphomet and the magician, we have the posture with the right hand pointing upwards, the left hand pointing downwards. And this is the macrocosm and microcosm, and it can be viewed in many different ways. And we're seeing here Baphomet or the magician, they are bridging the gap between these two realms. So you could think of this as like the magician is bridging the gap between the mental and physical planes, or the heavenly and earthly planes, or even the celestial and the infernal realms, what have you. And the same thing with Baphomet. Baphomet is balance, unity, the unifying the opposites and creating balance. Okay, then we talked about vibration. So since it's all about energy, it's all about the vibration of that energy. So we're talking about frequencies, psychic thought, energy, and transmutation, not of physical metals and things like this, but transmutation of mental states, emotional states, transmutation of thoughts, even something like looking on the bright side or having positive thinking or viewing things with a glass half full mentality. As seemingly innocent as these little things are, they can have tremendous power. Law of polarity is also dealing with this because, again, it's all just energy. So something like love and hate really are the same thing, but they're just of varying polarities, right? They're both very strong emotions, but think about how, instantaneously something like love can change into hate, like when one catches their spouse cheating on them, just in that instant. So there's no losing or gaining of energy. It's just a polarity change, and it can happen very quickly. Hate can also change to love. And these are both equally strong emotions. They're just of different polarities. Also, we have the law of rhythm. So this is talking about tides and cycles and the swing of the pendulum. We have cause and effect, gender, again. So this is all found in the symbolism of Baphomet. Okay, so right-hand path versus left-hand path, which we've discussed a little bit already. One is a path of submission. One is a path of freedom. When you're taking the left-hand path, you're going out on your own. Just like the fool, he's about to step off of the cliff into the unknown, the darkness, the abyss, right? This is symbolic of stepping into the abyss, going into the darkness, going into the shadow to test yourself. Why would you want to do this? Why would you want to step into chaos? Why would you want to venture into hell? Because there's tremendous power and potential there, right? When we're talking about hellfire, this is chaos. So in leaving the right-hand path, we're leaving order to step into the left-hand path, to embrace chaos. And of course, this just sounds like insanity. Why the hell, no pun intended, would anybody want to do this? Well, it's because with chaos, with hell, it's pure potential. You can create a new order. Even stepping into the darkness, into the abyss, now you're forced to manifest your own light. And from there, you can begin to build your own temple and your own order, of which you will own. You will be the sovereign master of. All right, so this is why we talk about black alchemy, black magic, creating your own order in the chaos so that you may have sovereignty and you do not have to bow to anyone or anything. You're forging your own path. You're worshiping yourself, self-deification, apotheosis. I'm talking about alchemy. There's a few things we have to cover. Of course, the prima materia, the magnum opus, the great work, the philosopher's stone, the 4 alchemical stages, the 7 alchemical processes. So in this video, we're gonna go over these concepts. So firstly, the magnum opus. This is the great work, becoming a living God. You're seeking apotheosis. They speak of the philosopher's stone, right? The great work is all about forging the philosopher's stone. In Plutosophia, this is forged within the fires of hell. And once you have this, you have immortality, eternal youth, just total power, really. You've achieved self-deification. And in Plutosophia, there's no nobler pursuit than that of this, immortality, the magnum opus. It is the noblest pursuit. Like, what else is the purpose? At least our philosophy in Plutosophia, there's no other greater purpose than continual evolution, continually getting better, achieving greater and greater personal excellence. And if you keep following this path of continual self-improvement and evolution, right, it doesn't really have an ending, does it? You can always continue to get better, continue to gain more power. So ultimately, you are on a path to become a living deity, right? That you're attempting to forge the philosopher's stone, which is something that is allowing you to transform things like lead into gold. But again, this is all metaphor. We're speaking about metaphysical things here. So the philosopher's stone then is something that is allowing you to take hellfire and create order from it. Okay, because think about this. Hellfire, we speak of in Plutosophia. In alchemy in general, they use the term prima materia, but understand this is raw power. It's not, the prima materia is the chaos hellfire before it has gone through any refinement, before it has gone through any transmutation. So it is chaos, it's unruly, it is destructive even, but yet it contains unlimited, infinite potential. And that is what is of interest here, right? And if you can figure out how to work with that, really, that's what creating the philosopher's stone is. It's creating a method to work with and create order with this chaos. Because now you have unlimited power. So Plutosophia is the path of the mystic. It's the path of the infernal mystic, and it deals with hell, hellfire, and chaos, the abyss. to build your temple, a temple not built with human hands, a temple that is built in silence. We're talking about the astral temple built within hell, forged from the fires of hell. Energy is paramount. This is the hellfire. The black alchemist seeks to tame the dragon. The dragon, this is chaos. This dragon is Leviathan, Satan, Lucifer, Behemoth. There's many aspects of this dragon, right? This dragon is the serpent within the garden, right? The dragon, the serpent, these are interchangeable. That dragon is the devil. The devil has various aspects, right? The four infernal emperors, Empress Leviathan, Emperor Satan, Emperor Lucifer, Emperor Behemoth. And it's all about becoming the Baphomet. And then transmuting that hellfire, which again is that pure potential, through its refinement. You can focus it and then you can organize it and compartmentalize it to create order. Baphomet, seeking to be like Baphomet, to become the Baphomet, because Baphomet is the bridge between this chaos and order. That's all about what this is. Destruction and creation, death and life, dark and light. It's an endless cycle, and that's what alchemy is working with these cycles. It becomes a question of how to work with this chaos, how to create order from it. So you impose order upon the chaos through various modalities. One could be through the establishment of 4 elements. In establishing the 4 fundamental elements of water, fire, air, and earth, this is taking a step to compartmentalize and create a division within the chaos hellfire. And what this means is you're beginning to establish an order with it. And you're doing this so that it gives you access to begin manipulating this energy. All right, so you can do it through the establishment of elements or the 4 cardinal directions, the infernal emperors, as we do in Plutosophia. All right, so you're breaking up initially this hellfire into this Satan aspect, the Behemoth aspect, the Leviathan aspect, and the Lucifer aspect. And you can further create divisions through demonolatry and the establishment of the infernal hierarchy, right? The hierarchy of the demons within hell. So if you want to work with health, for example, you could further refine that. So let's say if we're working with health, perhaps we want to start with Behemoth, because this is connecting us more with that aspect of the hellfire that deals with like the body and physicality and things like this, like health and wealth and other things. So we can define that even further by creating the demonic hierarchy with like King Belial, President Marbus, right? President Marbus is a demon who is very specifically connected with things like health and healing. So really through the establishment of this demonic nobility, you are performing alchemy through refining the energy further and further and further. At the top is the infernal royalty, the 4 infernal emperors. They are still of a very raw, pure essence. And as we further individualize and divide and compartmentalize this energy through various rankings and hierarchies, you are further refining this energy. And the 4 infernal emperors correspond with the 4 alchemical stages. So that's what we're going to cover next. So we have Leviathan, Empress Leviathan. She would correspond with the Negredo stage. This is the blackening stage, where you are stepping into the void, the abyss. So the Negredo, right? This is the first stage that we would pass through, and it is about stepping off of the cliff, just like the fool, to step into the abyss, to embrace the darkness, to embrace the chaos. The Negredo is known as the blackening, and it's very similar with like psychoanalysis and psychology, because psychoanalysis deals with the subconscious mind, or the term they actually used, that Freud used, was the unconscious mind. And Dr. Carl Jung was also a psychoanalyst. In the beginning, he worked along with Freud, but they had some kind of a falling out. But he spoke about the unconscious mind too, because what happens with that, there's a two-way street between the conscious mind, that's our waking mind and kind of what we have control over, and it's our part of our mind that we're aware of. So we can manipulate what's happening here, right, through our thoughts and the experiences that we have perception of in real time. And that, again, is all energy. And what we're experiencing and what happens in the conscious mind, that energy flows down into these the lower levels of the mind, like the personal subconscious and the collective unconscious. But what is happening there is something we're not so much aware of, although it does have an effect on us, because what's happening there is also flowing back up into the conscious mind, and it can create all kinds of like neuroses and things, anxiety disorders, depression disorders. And, we may not necessarily be aware of why, but through psychoanalysis, using things like hypnosis, you will go and try and identify these crystallized structures, right? Because that energy that's down there in the subconscious or unconscious mind, through reinforcement and things like repressed or suppressed memories, it can become kind of like hardened, right? So if this energy forms structures there, and over time it becomes, right, the term in metaphysics is crystallized, so it's becoming kind of a permanent structure there, and it will continue to feed the conscious mind with its energy, even though we may consciously be unaware of it. But through psychoanalysis, you identify these structures, and then that allows you to bring them more to the conscious mind, to be aware of them, and to work with them consciously. So this is very much like that, because when you're going through the Negredo stage, you're stepping into the darkness, into the shadow mind, right? So the subconscious, unconscious mind can be thought of as the shadow mind. You're going to be confronting these things, and it's going to be uncomfortable and unpleasant. But this is kind of the first step, right? You got to go into here and confront these things and then purge them. So psychoanalysis is really, it's like a process of purging and purification. Before you can continue, right, you must go through the Negredo blackening stage, confront that chaos that is within us. From the blackening stage in the Negredo, we would then move into the second alchemical stage, which is the whitening stage, or that of the albedo. Here we are working with so if the Negredo we could think of more as like the fool, because you're stepping off the ledge, which is symbolic of stepping into that realm, the abyss, and we don't know, right? The magician doesn't know what lies beyond the edge of the cliff. But with the albedo, we're coming to the magician, because now we're becoming more of an adept, and we're ready to work with the energies that are within us. So here, this would correspond with Satan. The Negredo would correspond with Leviathan, as I said, and here we have Satan. And here, this is all about fiery ignition of the willpower and cleansing those impurities and igniting the magical system. Here, with the albedo, we are we're getting ready to establish our new order and to move from the chaos into order. Here we find importance with that logos, with the word. And we're beginning to manifest our will upon the chaos. We then move into the Saturnitis, or the yellowing stage, which corresponds with Lucifer, manifesting our own light in the void, bringing about illumination, and we're beginning to apply intellect to craft this order and build our astral temple, right? This is the temple that is built in silence without human hands, because it is the temple that is built between the temples within your mind. Then we move to the final stage, the rubido, the reddening, right? The Philosopher's Stone is red because in this stage we are forging the Philosopher's Stone. It corresponds with Behemoth, because Behemoth is all about culmination and manifestation, right? Everything we've been working towards building, with Behemoth, we're actually manifesting it. And Behemoth is connected with the earth. He is an earth elemental demon. That means he ties in with, practicality and application and manifestation, right? So this is where we're having our success. We're getting things done. Being the reddening stage, this also ties in with the phoenix, and, where we have immortality, eternal youth, mastery over the cycles of life and death, rebirth. This is also the stage of the Red King and alchemical marriage, whereby the Red King is merging with the White Queen. So this is an alchemical marriage of the divine masculine and divine feminine. All right. Now, those are the 4 stages of alchemy, and they correspond with the elements, the 4 elements, as well as the 4 infernal emperors. So we begin with Leviathan, then we move to Satan, then to Lucifer, and it all culminates with Behemoth. Achieving apotheosis or illumination or enlightenment, it's not an all one and done, right? It's a continual process. You must continually work on it. It's a state that you achieve, but you also must maintain that state. So it requires infinite attention, infinite energy. So it can only be fueled by an infinite energy source. And so in Plutosophia, this is why we work with an infinite energy source. The prima materia, hellfire, the chaos energy of hell, because this is infinite potential. Okay, the 7 alchemical processes. We begin with calcination. This is a stage of destruction, right? That's why we begin with Leviathan, stepping into the darkness. The negredo, the blackness, right? That psychoanalysis. We're going in to scorch earth, right? We're going in to destroy all of the old structures, because our goal, of course, is to build a new order, to manifest a new light of which we are the master, we are in control of. Before you can create this new life, you must bring about death and destruction, burn away the impurities, burn away illusions that we have, fears, phobias, traumas, repressed memories, suppressed memories, primal urges, false belief, self-limiting beliefs, bad negative habits. All of this stuff we must firstly identify, and secondly, we must destroy it. We must burn it away. This is kind of a calcination. It's like a process of deconditioning. So you can think of, our whole lives we have been programmed, even brainwashed, with these false beliefs and especially limiting beliefs. And if you want to be a successful magician or alchemist, you can't have any limitations at all. And really, that is the big thing that holds back that alchemist magician that succeeds from those that are destroyed by the path. You have to go and identify those crystallized thought patterns, these structures that were created through just years and years and decades of this programming. You have to decondition yourself. You have to deprogram. That's why we step into the formless void, the chaos, the abyss, the darkness. We must tear down the old structures before we can build the new ones. Okay, the second process is that of dissolution. So now you are embracing chaos, you're embracing the darkness, you're stepping into hell to embrace the hellfire there. Again, more deconditioning. You're trying to destroy all of the brainwashing and programming and all of the dogma that has been established in your mind. Then we move to the third process, that of separation, right? So now that we've identified these things, we've confronted them, we want to identify, okay, in what we are experiencing, what is our true self, our true will, and what is our false will or our false self? So we need to distinguish here the false self from the true self, and then totally latch onto and embrace that true self and true will, and everything else just fire, scorched earth, just destroy it all. Then, having latched onto and merged with the true self and will, we can then evolve according to the true will, and then move on to the next process, the fourth process of conjunction, where we come into the Baphomet and the fusion of opposites to achieve balance and harmony, and the Hermetic law of polarity, where we merge and fuse the celestial and infernal realms. And then we move on to the fifth alchemical process, which is that of fermentation, where we begin to awaken the true God self, the vampire within us. Now, this is speaking from the doctrines of Plutosophia. We view the vampire as the highest evolution of the human being, right? So the vampire is where you're moving from human to vampire, and the vampire is metaphysical mastery, mastery of the metaphysical self, mastery of metaphysics, where you transcend your human aspect to become something greater, something, it's apotheosis, immortality, true power. And then we can move on to the sixth and seventh processes, the sixth being that of distillation, where the higher occult knowledge of Plutosophia is further refined, which leads to increased mastery. And then with coagulation, you have apotheosis, the Philosopher's Stone, becoming the vampire, living God, the black sun. Okay, so these are the seven alchemical processes, and you will move through these. It's an endless cycle. It's an endless cycle. Just like, Pluto, the demon of black alchemy, is the god of death and rebirth, death and life. Pluto is the sovereign master of death and life, and the cycles of death and life. Alchemy is all about mastery of these cycles. Baphomet is about balance and harmony, mastery of these cycles. Solve et coagula, right? So you can see upon the forearms of the Baphomets the Latin words solve and coagula. So this is tying into these seven alchemical processes, and it's all about breaking down and putting back together. Death, destruction, and life and creation. Chaos and order, life and death, rebirth. That's what alchemy is. You're tearing down so that you can put together in new ways that are more self-serving for the alchemist. Okay, so in Plutosophia, we speak about vampire apotheosis, vampire transformation. So these seven alchemical processes are dealing with this end goal in mind. So with calcination, you have destruction of the past, breaking down of limitations, energy limits. With dissolution, this is about absorption, flowing with the external energy and activating the vampire senses, energy manipulation. Separation is about discarding weakness, refining energy, seeking out better energy sources, distinguishing the strong versus weak energy sources, and achieving greater personal energy control. With conjunction, this is about integration with the vampire will and power and merging energy sources into personal essence. With fermentation, we're beginning to see the birth of the vampire god self, awakening of the black flame, and infusion with our primal power, or with primal power. And with distillation, this is working towards purification and further refinement of the soul's essence, mastery over the energy currents, such as the Samael Lilith vampire current, reality shifting through working with black magic. And with coagulation, this is achieving the Philosopher's Stone, vampire apotheosis, the vampire diamond body within Plutosophia. So again, just to recap, with the Negredo, you're facing the abyss, destroying the weak old self. So this is death. With Albedo, the whitening, you are purifying and refining the energy body, and wielding life force energy. With Saturnitus, you're awakening the divine spark and beginning the path to immortality. And with the Rubido, the reddening, you are completing the magnum opus and becoming the black sun, the vampire full apotheosis. That is alchemy, black alchemy in a nutshell. Obviously, there is more to it, but I don't want to make this video too long. But kind of that's a good introduction in how we work with alchemy within Plutosophia. And it's just all about, well, to keep it as simple as possible, go back to Hermeticism and the 7 Hermetic laws, and really meditate upon the first Hermetic law of mentalism. The all is mind. The universe is mental. And the more you can know this, really know it, not just understand it, but really come to know this, the more your magic, the more your alchemy will flourish. That's pretty much it for this video. Thank you again so much for joining me here today. So we have a long way to go in the development of Plutosophia. We're very new, very young, but we have very big ambitions. But step by step, we will continue to move forward. If you are interested in what we're doing, if you would like to learn more, of course, we have our website at plutosophia.com. We are on X. Still standing at 1 follower. Who's going to be number 2 to join us there? But we are on X at Plutosophia. You can find us there. And if you would like to support us, please visit our site, plutosophia.com, and there are ways that you can support us in our mission. We have kind of a short-term goals and longer-term goals. With our longer-term goals, again, I realize very ambitious, but we will get there in due time. I do have the intention of establishing Plutosophia as a worldwide left-hand path establishment religion with real physical temples that can be kind of places that function as sanctuaries, places of learning, places of worship, ritual, community. Wherever you are in the world, you can come and visit and know that we have representation there, and that means representation for you as well as a member of Plutosophia. But again, very ambitious. These are our long-term goals, of course, but that is where I am pushing Plutosophia as the Infernal Hierophant. I am pushing it towards that, but shorter-term goals, of course, what we're doing online and creating and publishing reading materials and books and courses and things like this. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Thank you so much again for joining me here. If you like our videos, of course it does help if you like the video, subscribe, leave comments. Of course I encourage and would love to see some discussion and debate in the comments. Just please, of course, keep it civil and respectful. Please watch your language, obviously, but yeah, I think I'm just kind of dragging this on at this point. So I'm going to end this video. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, have an infernally blessed day. Bye-bye. Take care.